Great. So welcome to our today's class. A continuation and the last part of topic number 6 will be done in the next 1 hour, 1 hour, 10 minutes. We'll be done with this topic. So the question or the last part of this topic talks about service. The name of the topic is product costing, and product is a combination of physical goods and services. So when we talk about the services part of it, we want to look at how hotel industries are going to do costing of their services, maybe full board, bed and breakfast, how hostels are going to charge for the beds that someone occupies for the next 2, 3, or 4 days when they're actually hospitalized there. We want to see how transport industry arrives at their revenue or their net profit. How then do they do the costing to arrive at the transport per kilometer, or even from one town to another? How do they arrive at that amount they are charging? What do they normally put into consideration? So all that put together will now take us to what we call service costing. And since we don't have a lot of stories about it, I want us to look at this question together to understand the entire process. It is a very simple thing. So allow us to look at CPA past paper question of December 2023, question number 2C. And the question says that DMAX College has been using their own van to transport students to and from college, right? The new principal feels that this may be too expensive for the school. That's now good. He suggests that the college could lease transport services from Gari Limited at a cost of 308,000. Right? At a cost of 308,000 per month. The college accountant revealed the following information, right? Yes, so they have been operating a bus. The question is available in the group description. There's a link. There's a link that contains all the questions from the group description. What is the probability of this topic being brought in exams? Remember, this topic is where we have process costing, one of the key topics that should not miss in your exams. It is one of the key topics that should not miss in your exams. Great. So we have two things here. The company is thinking of hiring a van to be able to take care of the transport of the students to and from the college. Now, the cost of hiring that van will be 308,000 per month, right? And look at what we are being told. The 308,000 shillings per month is distributed as per information number 3, where we have Gari Limited's monthly cost of 308,000 is attributed as follows. Number 1, the cost of hiring that van will be 220,000. The driver's salary will be 50,000, right? And the maintenance fee will be 38,000 per month. Okay. Then let us now proceed. Let's go back to the topmost part. The college accountant revealed the following information, right? Number 1, cost of the van. So they are planning to purchase their own van. Okay. So cost of this van will be 7 million. Annual insurance will be 790,000. Annual repairs will be 440,000. The driver's monthly salary will be 90,000. Annual road license, 100,000. Transport levy per annum, 154,000. The scrap value of the van will be 1 million. We call it residual value. The moment you see the cost of the van and you see the residual value, we now know if we are told to do depreciation, there's something we are going to do, right? That's number 1. Number 2, we now understand that we cannot put the cost of an asset as an operating expense. All of us in this meeting must have done what we call public finance and taxation, or you are currently doing it, right? The PFT unit. So in PFT, remember you are calculating what we call capital allowances you are not allowed, if you see a company has recorded purchase of motor vehicle in the income statement, what are you doing? You are deducting that amount first. Then what do you bring back? You bring back the capital allowance, right? You bring back the capital allowance. Disallowable, the expenses that are not allowed, right? That you cannot claim. So if you have depreciation charge there, you remove it, right? You add it back. Once you add it back, what are you going to bring back here to allow you deduct? It is the capital allowance, right? But the same thing is what we are going to do here. So we are not going to bring the cost as an operating expense. No, we are going to bring the depreciation expense. Then we also have what we call tires and tubes annual cost for the whole year. We have inspection cost per year. Then we have petrol cost per kilometer, right? So the moment I am able to see petrol cost per kilometer, the next thing I should be looking for in this question is the distance covered. How many kilometers were covered for the entire year? So if I go to the first information, the van is estimated to cover 40,000 kilometers per year. It has an estimated useful life of 6 years. Number 2, the new traffic rule has been issued requiring all passenger vehicles, including college vans, to be fitted with speed governors and seat belts. This will cost 40,000 per annum. Under required, can you compute the cost per kilometer if the college uses its own transport? Number 2, if the college hires transport services. Okay. So I think we are done. We are done with that question, right? So the first thing you're going to do, we have to get all the expenses per annum, right? All the expenses per annum. Then we divide by the total kilometers per annum for us to get cost per kilometer. If I'm given cost per month, then of course I must take that cost per month, multiply by 12 months for the entire year, then I divide by the total kilometers. How then do we attack the question? We start with, if the company uses its own transport, right? Uses its own transport. Hires the transport services. Hires the transport services. Great. Now, let's start with the first one. When the company uses its own transport, we have to get all the annualized expenses. Let's start with the first cost. I've said clearly that these expenses, we are not going to bring in the cost of the van, right? We are going to look at the depreciation expense is what we are going to bring in here, right? Good. So, let's start with the depreciation. 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 Are we able to get the depreciation expense? So that depreciation expense, we must calculate it. So I'm requesting if we can be doing questions from ATD. Also, I think we have been doing that. Our first question in this topic, in this topic under process costing. Can you check the workings? That one is very, very important because we are also having ATD group here. Can you confirm to me our first question from topic number 6? Are you able to mention the sitting and the paper, whether it is CP or ATD? The first question. It was from ATD. Which sitting? It was ATD, right? So what happened? That question from ATD under process costing. In process costing for ATD students, I think I clarified, right? If not, let me clarify. So in process costing, you are to give us the normal process. There is no opening work in progress. there's no closing work in progress for the ATD students, right? Or ATD content. So what you're supposed to know is how to prepare process account, how to get normal loss, how to get abnormal loss, how to get abnormal gain. Then you finalize with those accounts. Apart from the process account, are you able to prepare abnormal loss account, abnormal gain account, normal loss account? Then of course, all this ends up in the scrap account. That is the only thing you need to understand at ATD level when you are doing process accounts, all right? Then CPA, after knowing that, you go a notch higher and look at opening work in progress, closing work in progress, where you're supposed to apply two methods. FIFO, first in, first out, then of course weighted average method. Then again at CPA, you are supposed to understand how to deal with what we call joint products. I think we did that for the CPA team, right? Yes. So this last part, under service costing, it applies to both CPA and ATD students, right? So our first illustration for this is now coming from CPA, but for the process was from ATD, which means if you're going to have second illustration, it will now come from ATD. So I think I've been blending the concept, both CPA and ATD. Unless you have a question you want us to look at from ATD, we'll definitely look at it together. Is that okay? Yeah. So back to this depreciation. So how do we get depreciation? I'm talking to someone who is doing financial reporting. I'm talking to someone who was taught financial accounting and they did what we call fixed assets movement schedule. That movement schedule, you are really interacting with depreciation, both on straight line and reducing balance basis. Can you please now bring that concept to this place? So the cost of this motor vehicle is 7 million, right? Useful life is 6 years, right? Is 6 years. Salvage value or residual value, salvage value we are told is 1 million. Is it 1 million? Yes, 1 million. Good. So even without the examiner mentioning so many things, are you able to tell us the depreciation here? They have not mentioned the method, but automatically I can see we are going to do it using straight line method. So how do we get the depreciation? Depreciation in this case will be the cost of this asset, right? Minus salvage, then you divide by the useful life. Good, so let's do that. 7 million minus 1 million divide by useful life, which is 6 years. What is the depreciation per annum? What is the depreciation per annum? Is 1 million, right? 1 million. This examiner gave a very simple thing. I wish I was this examiner. I could have given you a figure that does not give you 1 million. Because I know some people in this question, some people did a mistake of taking that 1 million of the salvage value as an expense under depreciation, which should not be the case. Salvage is not the depreciation cost. The only thing that has happened is that our depreciation here is the same as the salvage value, is equal to the salvage value, but they are basically not using this for the salvage. So annual depreciation is 1 million. Very important. Which other costs are you going to include there? The next one I can see annual insurance. Yes, annual insurance is not a capital expenditure. Annual insurance is not a capital expenditure, so we record it there, 790,000. Then we have annual repairs. Annual repairs, 440,000. Then we have driver's monthly salary. Let me see what these great people are giving me. Driver's monthly salary. No, driver's salary. Driver's salary, what will we have? I'm not able to see the figure clearly. What will we have? The driver's salary. The driver's salary. What do we have? Great, you are extremely keen. Remember, it is 90,000 per month, and we are talking about expenses for the entire year. So you have to take care of that. Annual road license. Annual road license. So annual road license is 100,000. Then we have transport levy per annum. Transport levy per annum. Transport levy per annum is 154,000. Scrap value of the van, that one is already taken care of. Tires and tubes, annual cost. Tires and tubes. Annual cost is equal to 126,000. Then we have inspection cost. Inspection costs per year is 10,000 only. Then we have petrol cost per kilometer. Petrol cost per kilometer. I'm also not able to see that clearly. So what do we have? The petrol cost. What is the petrol cost? Petrol cost. 60,000. 60,000. Okay. 60,000. Okay, somebody is also able to see that because we are having given 154 shillings per kilometer, and the company or the van covered 40,000 kilometers for the entire year. So you have to take 40,000 times 154. I hope that is what is giving you 60,000 or 6,160,000. Good. Is there any hidden cost that we have not been able to account for? Let's look at it. Information number one, that is the kilometers. Useful life, we have used it to get depreciation. The traffic rule number two, new traffic rules have been issued requiring all passenger vehicles, including college vans, to be fitted with speed governors and seat belts. This will cost 40,000 per annum. So that is hidden. They have not mentioned it up there. It has to be part of the cost. So we talk about speed governors. Speed governors. So speed governors, 40,000 per annum. Anything we are leaving out? None. So can we get the total cost? The total annual operating cost that the company will incur? We have 1,000,000, 790, 440, 1080, 100,000, 154. We have 126, 10,000, 6,000,000, 160,000, 40 million. So already this one here plus this will be 7. 7 plus this, 8 million. 8 million. This one here taking us to 9, about 10. Around 11 point something. Or I'm exaggerating it. Maybe, yeah. 10 or less. Kindly repeat on why we don't include the cost of the van. 7 million. We are calculating operating expenses. when you are calculating operating expenses, the costs that are incurred maybe on monthly basis, on annual basis, I mean on a weekly basis or after every 4 months, the cost of the van is not an operating cost, right? In other words, will the company purchase vans at the end of every year? The van, so what you're going to do here is the depreciation. In other words, capital expenditure is not charged once. How do we charge it? We are charging it in form of depreciation. Remember, if this van was to operate for the 6 years that we have been taught, right, we will be reducing its cost on annual basis by the amount equivalent to the depreciation. We are reducing it here. So we don't record the entire amount. No, we record it bit by bit. I'm told it is 9,900,000. So this will be 9,900,000. 9,900,000. Good. So total annual cost. Annual cost. Then distance covered is equal to 40,000 kilometers. So what do we have as the cost per kilometer? Cost per kilometer, take what you have, divide by the distance covered. Cost per kilometer. Cost per kilometer, 247.5 is equal to shillings. 247.5 per kilometer. Good, that is what we have. Then we come to this other side and look at when they hire this van, what will happen? Information number 3. Gari Limited's monthly cost of 380,000 is attributed as follows, right? So we talk about van hire. Van hiring cost is equal to 220, but remember, it is 220,000 per month. And we're talking about how many months? 12 months. Driver's salary will be 50,000 times 12. Then maintenance fee is 38,000 times 12. Is there anything that we're supposed to add to that? Let's see. The only thing that has been mentioned is that the college will be hiring this bus at a cost of 308,000 per month, and it is distributed as follows. The responsibility of bringing in the speed governors and seat belts is for the owner, or is by the owner of the van. So we are going to bring it here in the case where the company is hiring. All those requirements have been met by the owner of the van. So we are not going to bring the seatbelt cost and speed governors cost here. But for this one here, remember it is the college that owns the van, so they have to take care of that. Great. So let's have 220,000 by 12. What are you getting? 50,000 by 12. What are you getting? 38,000 by 12. What are you getting? 2640. 2640. 50,000 by 12. 600,000. 38,000 by 12. 456,000. 456,000. Good. So that is what they are taking care of. Now, well, Good. So I want to check. I want us to look at it very keenly. If you look at this arrangement, is it the college to purchase fuel, or it is the owner of the bus or of the van? Let's agree there. Is it the college? Good. Having mentioned that, can we look at the thank you. Can we look at the first statement there? We are being told DMAX College has been using their own van to transport students to and from the college. The new principal feels that this may be too expensive for the school. He suggests that the college could lease the transport services from Gari Limited at a cost of 308,000 per month. The school, the work of the college will be telling that is Gari Limited, right? We have 50 students. You'll be taking them from maybe Nairobi to Kiambu on a daily basis. Very early in the morning, very late in the evening. That's all. If your van will be using water to move between the distance, we don't want to know. What you want to know is, have you managed to change make our students move from Nairobi to Kiambu on a daily basis for 30 days, for 365 days, maybe? Yes. Please give us your account number. We'll be transferring 308,000 every month, right? But now, Gari Limited, out of the 308 that they will be paid, the driver will be paid 50,000. The maintenance cost will be 38,000. Maybe this cost here now includes even the fuel, right? Maybe that cost also includes the fuel. So you work under the assumption that fuel is not part of that. Is that okay? Of course, the examiner was to be again clear about it. Is it okay now? 96,000. 96,000. That is the total cost that was incurred if they hire this particular van. So the distance covered, total hire cost per annum. Total distance will still be the 40,000 kilometers. Cost per kilometer. Cost per kilometer will be how much? 92.4. 92.4 per kilometer. So it will give you the reason why some schools have decided not to own any bus. It will give you some of the reasons why some schools have decided not to own any bus. But of course, the one that uses their own transport, they can consider some days when the bus is not being used by the college, and then it is hired out to those who want to use it at some cost. So you'll balance. If you're going to hire it out, what is the possibility of getting maybe this amount every month from the hiring, right? Add that together, or to reduce this particular cost, and now compare cost per kilometer here and cost per kilometer here. So you, as a good advisor, what will you do to the company, to the college? Will you advise them to use their own transport means or just hire a van? They just hire, right? They just hire, and that's all. That's our first question from CPA. So can we look at a question from ATD? Yes. Which sitting? All of us have got access to the past paper questions from ATD. So look at ATD question, that is December 2022, question number 4A. December 2022, question number 4A. CPA, December 2022, question number 4A. Very fast, CPA, December 2022. ATD, December 2022. ATD, December 2022, question number 4A. ATD, December 2022. ATD, December 2022, question number 4A. ATD, December. There's part 2 of the question. What do we have in part 2? Outline 3 factors that the college might consider in choosing the best alternative. That's direct. Somebody to give us there the 3. What are the 3 factors that the college might consider in choosing the best alternative? Even though hiring the van will be very cheap to the college. But what are some of the things they should be able to consider? Number 1, will they have a professional driver to take care of the school children? Does the ministry allow for that? Are they allowed to hire transport services, right? Maybe the management of the school, are they taking or buying that idea? We have so many factors. Talk about liquidity, control of cost of maintenance, reliability, safety. Very good. Reliability is a major factor here. Imagine you want children to go to school or students to be taken to school, and you are being told at exactly around 10 a.m. that the driver overslept. The driver was so drunk, so he could not manage to take the students to the school very early in the morning. So it is now at 10 a.m. No student has arrived in the school. Why? Because the driver was so drunk and could not even remember that it was on a Monday. Right? Such kind of things should be considered before you go for this cheaper option. Yes, number of students, right? Yeah, something of that kind. Is it convenient? Maybe the distance to be covered and all that. So many things, right? Yes. Good. So can we proceed? There are so many, maybe the total cost of ownership of owning that particular bus, usage patterns and frequency. Are they going to use it throughout the year, even though they're going to pay for it for the entire year? Sometimes the schools will be in holiday. This van will be used by the owner to do other things, which again cannot be controlled by the school. Logistical and operational control is also a major factor to be considered there. So we have great points, we have great things under that. Allow me to move to that ATD question. Allow me to move to that ATD question. We should complete it within the remaining 10 minutes. We should complete it within the remaining 10 minutes. ATD, ATD, ATD. ATD question. So please confirm. That is Kandogo Guest House Operate Services Costing System. So let's look at it. ATD. Is it another question? No question. Let me just confirm the exact sitting. ATD December 2022. Question number 4A. ATD December 2022, question number 4A. So the question says that Kandogo Guest House Operate Services Costing System. The following costs were incurred during a 30-week year. Listen and listen carefully. The moment you don't get the idea about the duration, you'll get a 0 in this question. So please listen and listen carefully. The company is operating a 30-week year. There are some expenses the company in this question will be told they were incurred on a daily basis. There are some that will be incurred on a weekly basis. How many weeks are we talking about? 30 weeks for the whole year. So please get to understand that. For example, information number 1, the weekly cost incurred per guest was as follows. Weekly cost. So one guest, the company incurred 25,000 for a whole week. How many guests were served for the whole week? Then we multiplied by the number of weeks. Electricity for eating and cooking, given there, per guest per week. Laundry and cleaning expenses per guest per week. Transport expense per guest per week. Before we go to information number 2. Number 2, the hotel operates for 30 weeks a year. Again, a repetition of what we have up there. Each guest is charged 100,000 per week. That's now the revenue to the hotel. Okay. Fixed salary and supervision expenses are 11 million per annum. They are now taking it from weekly to per annum. But the first information is based on a week per guest. Then we have rent and rates for the property per annum is 4 million. Recreation and accommodation fixed costs are 1 million per annum. Required, the total cost per annum, cost per guest per week, then hotel profit stroke loss per guest per week. Cost per guest per week. We can actually get that. So, is it simple for us to convert the annual costs to be weekly costs, then we divide by the cost per guest? Or is it simple for us to get everything first of all per annum, then we work backwards per week, per guest? I think working backwards will be very simple for us. How many guests are served in a week? There's something that I skipped there intentionally. How many guests are served per week? Thank you. So let us pick it from this point. Note number 1, weeks. We have 30 guests per week. We have 15. So 30 weeks per year. All right, 30 weeks per year. 15 guests per week. Then how many guests do we have per annum? Guests per annum. Guests per annum, you have 15 guests per week, and the hotel is operating for how many weeks? For 30 weeks. How many guests per annum? How many guests per annum? 450 guests for the whole year. 450 guests for the whole year. So this is the bottom line thing. Look at it. Let me first of all try and take food. So we can decide and say the food that is charged per week is 25,000. All right. And the hotel is operating for how many weeks? For 30 weeks. How much will you have here? 25,000 by 30. Just to explain something. 25,000 by 30. 750,000, right? So we'll have 750,000. 750,000. So 750,000 will be the total cost of food for 30 weeks or for the whole year. But do you know the number of guests served with that meal? How many guests have been served with the 750,000? How many guests have been served with the 750,000? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Can you read it again? Soma vizuri, elewa vizuri. Information number 1. What is the opening statement? The following costs were incurred per guest per week. The food of 25,000 is for just one guest for 1 week. When I take 25,000 and multiply by 30 weeks directly, this is the cost of serving just one guest food for the whole year. So if I want to get the total cost of food for serving all the guests per year, what will I do? I'll simply come here and check how many guests are served per year. So I'll take 450 times the cost, which is 750,000. So what are you getting? What are you getting? Something must be wrong, right? Something must be wrong. So I'll be able to, how did we get 15? Jameni. Huh? Take a minute and look at information number. What do we have? Information number 3. Information number 3. Inasemaje? What do we have in information number 3? What do we have in information number 3? It is 15 guests. I hope your question is answered. Actually, you've given us the response, so you are sorted. Good. Now, you can see I'm trying to bring to you ways in which most of you will not get this question correctly because of those slight mistakes. Now, how can you come and take 750,000, which is cost per guest per annum, then you multiply by again 450 guests? When you multiply by 450 guests, you've done a duplicate. Why? How did we get 450? We took 15 guests multiplied by 30 weeks in a year. I can now not do a mistake of taking 450 by 750,000. That is a duplicate already, right? For me to avoid that, I should come here and say, how many guests were served per week? 15 guests were served per week. And the company paid 25,000 for food per guest per week. And this is going for how many weeks? For 30 weeks for the whole year. So how much are we getting as the cost per guest per annum? $11,000 to $50,000. 11 to 50,000. Good. I can decide to take that approach. So food, the company is paying 25,000, right, for one guest. 25,000 for one guest for just 1 week. And this is going for 30 weeks. So it is 25,000 times 30 will give us 750. So what do I need to do? What I need to do is very simple. Let me just interchange them this way. 15 by 30 by 25,000. Alternatively, I will take 750,000. Then I multiply by 15. Is it true? And I want you to look at how this thing is happening. right? We get the answer there. Then another person will say, just take 450 multiply by 25,000. Can you confirm to me that all these are giving me the same answer? Confirm to me that all these arrangements are taking you to the same point. Confirm to me that all these arrangements are taking you to the same point. Great. This is the order. The first candidate, right? Candidate A, candidate B, candidate C. So candidate A said 15 guests are served per week. And the company will be operating for 30 weeks in a year. And the cost of food per guest per week is 25,000. So this person has taken them directly like that and is taking us to 11 to 50,000. Candidate B says, I should first of all take the number of guests per week, multiply by the number of weeks to give me total number of guests for the whole year. That is 450, right? Now, when I take 450, sorry, that's candidate C. When you take 450, the number of guests that are served for the whole year, and each guest, the company incurs 25,000 on food, then it gives you the same amount. So this person has decided to first of all integrate number of guests times the number of weeks to get all guests in the whole year. Then this candidate here tells us, how did we get 750,000? We took 25,000 times 30. That is to say, first of all, can you get the cost that the company will incur on food for one guest for the whole year, right? One guest, the company is paying 25,000 on food. 25,000 on food. This 25,000 that is incurred on food for just one guest for 1 week, we multiply by the number of weeks in a year. 25,000 by 30 weeks gave us 750,000. Then I now come and say, how many guests will be served? 15. Then you can see. So out of the three, which one makes it very simple for you to avoid a lot of errors and all that? Which one are you adopting? Which one are you adopting? A, B, or C? A works very well. You separate them like that, right? Thank you. A and C. Okay, I can say majority are voting for A. So let's start with the first one. The weekly cost incurred per guest was, so we have food. We have food, 25,000 for one guest. The hotel is having 15 guests per week, and this has to go for 30 weeks for the whole year. So how much is that? How much is that? Then we have electricity for eating. Electricity for eating is 3,000 per guest. There are 15 in a week, and this has to go for 30 weeks in a year. Then we have laundry and cleaning. Laundry and cleaning, it is 5,000 per guest per week. There are 15 in a week, and this has to go for 30 weeks in a year. Then transport costs. Transport cost is 10,000 for one guest. There are 15 in a week. It has to go for 30 weeks in a year. So I hope you are ready with the answers. So what do we have for the food? Already have it there. So it is 11 to 50,000 for food I can get directly. What about electricity? 3,000 times 15 times 30. 1350, right? 13. Then laundry. So laundry here, we are talking about 5,000 by 15 by 30. 22,50,000. 22 50,000. Then we are having transport 10,000 by 15 by 30. 4,500,000. Uh-huh, 4,500,000. Those are the variable components that are dependent on the week. But now let us go to information number 5, the fixed salary and supervision expenses. Salaries and supervision costs is 11 million. Is 11 million. Then we have rent and rates. Rent and rates is 4 million. Rent and rates is 4 million. Then number 7, recreational or recreation and accommodation. That is information number 7, is 1 million per annum. 1 million per annum. Anything else that I'm leaving out? Have we captured all the expenses? Have we managed to capture all the expenses? Yes. Good. So please go ahead and give me total annual cost. Total annual costs. Total annual cost. 35,350,000. Someone else? 35,350. 35,350. That's what these great people are getting here. 35,350. 35,350. Great. Having done that, are we able to get some few things here? Right? Are we able to get some few things here? Number 1, number of guests per annum. Number of guests is 15 guests times 30. That would be 450 guests. 450 guests. Can we now get cost per guest per annum? Cost per guest per annum. Annual cost divided by the number of guests for the whole year. Cost per guest per annum. Are you able to get that? Cost per guest per annum, 78,556. $78,556. Someone else to confirm that? 35,350 divided by 450 guests. Are we able to get cost per week? Cost per week. Cost per week, you take the annual cost divided by the number of weeks. Cost per week. Cost per week. Somebody's lying to us. It is 35,350,000 divided by 30 weeks. It should be actually higher than even this. It should be even higher than this. Or 26, 19 million. 117. Bado, sijafika kwa cost per guest per week. Tulia, wachana na required. Wachana na required kando kabisa, tutakuja huko mwisho. 1178. 78, 3, 3, 3. Is that what you're talking about? Good. I'm coming to that. Cost per guest per week. But here we have cost per week. Good. We have the cost per week. Guest per week, 15. Guest per annum for 50. That's why we're able to take. So cost per guest per annum, it is this one divided by 450, which gave us 78 by whatever. Good. So let's come back here. Let's come back here. Because some people will be confusing this in the process. Now we have cost per week. How do we get cost per week? Cost per week, how many weeks do we have in a year? It is annual cost divided the number of weeks, right? Cost per week is the annual cost divided by the number of weeks in a year. How many weeks do we have? 30 weeks per year. Good. Now, I want us to get it this way. And you'll be able to see we're coming back to this figure. So we have cost per week of 11. How many guests do we have per week? Guests per week are actually 15 in number. Guests per week are 15 in number and already have cost per week. Right? Good. Are we able to get cost per guest or cost per week per guest? Already we have cost per week, cost per week. But per guest, cost per week per guest. Our cost per week is 1178,333, and this relates to how many guests in the whole of that week, guests per week. What are we getting as the cost per week per guest or cost per guest per week? That is the cost per guest per week. So if I were to stop at this point and tell you, the cost per guest per annum is the same as the cost per guest per week, many people would have disputed that, right? We have the number of guests. The total annual cost is this one here. All number of guests for the whole year is this one here. So when you divided that directly, it gave us the number of, the cost per guest per annum. So that is what we are required to do. I want you to take this approach. Start from maybe the highest figure, then you move downwards. For example, we can also decide and say, can we get cost per, this is cost per week. We can also get cost per guest, actually. Cost per guest. So cost per guest, we have the annual cost divided by 450. What are we getting? Annual cost divided by 450. This divided by 450. What are you getting? Is it giving us the same amount? 78,556, yes. So that's what we have there. That's what the next thing you'll be told is to give us profit, whether the company was making a profit or not. Whether the company was making a profit or not. So what is the required? So total cost per annum, we've answered that here. Cost per guest per week, we have it here now. The last thing is the hotel profit or loss per guest per week. Now that you already have cost per week or per guest per week, do we have the revenue per guest per week? Revenue per guest per week. How much is the company making from one guest per week? How much is the company making from one guest per week? Which additional information is having that figure? Someone is not able to see it. Which additional information has got what the company is earning from one guest per note number 4? Each guest is charged 100,000 per week. Each guest is charged 100,000. The company is receiving 100,000 from each guest. All the costs incurred by the company, if you put them on a weekly basis per guest, the company is incurring 78,556. Are they operating at a profit or a loss? Are they operating at a profit or a loss? Are they operating at a profit or a loss? A profit. How much is the profit? How much is the profit? What they are receiving against what they are incurring. 21,444. 21,444. 21,444. So that's what we have as the profit per guest per week, revenue per guest per week, cost per guest per week or per week per guest. Are we together up to that point? Are we together up to that point? Are we together up to that point? Good. I think I have a summary of the past paper question under that topic, which all of you have got access to. How did we get 21? 21 tumesema wanapata profit. They are making sales of 100,000 and they are incurring 78,555. What do we do? Can I change it? Yes. So sales 100,000. Costs 78,556. Profit is equal to sales minus costs. So minus 21,444. Great. So I've said you have so many past paper questions under this concept, including CPA August 2022 question number 4B. Yes, CPA August 2022 question number 4B. It is almost, no, that one is for transport industry. The one that we did in ATD, the first question we have just done here, is almost the same as August 2020, August 2022 question number, August 2022 question number 4B from CPA, right? Then, if you look at something that is close to this, these are the TD question. Yeah, this one here. That is close to this one here, from CPA past paper question, is which sitting? That should be September 2021, question number 3A. September 2021, question number 3A. Here, they are talking about accommodation in an hotel. But the one for CPA, they are talking about accommodation in a hostel, right? So the number of beds that are occupied, percentage of occupancy, right? Outpatient, the cost per patient, all that is available in the CPA 2021 past paper question. So please look at the summary, the service questions, and of course, process. That is it. I'm done with topic number 6. So what I normally do, let me give you a secret. I normally do this topic at the very last part. Why? So many people are afraid of it. So I normally do it at the very last part when you've already counted your 90% and you don't have an option of giving up because of topic number 6. But this time around, I decided to start with it. So by the time we are getting to 17th or 18th of August, You've done so many questions, you've done a lot of revision from this topic, and you'll not be afraid of it. You will not be afraid of it. It is the most interesting topic, by the way, the most practical topic, again. Yes, we are going to have a break. When we come back, I'll be introducing our shortest topic that we have been doing all along without knowing. So we'll be looking at topic number 7. Topic number 7. It is the most interesting topic again. The most interesting topic that you're only focusing on one item. We can have 5 minutes break, so we'll be resuming at 7:25 there with topic number 7. I think as we speak, all of us in this class have got access to the past paper questions under topic number 7. The past paper questions under topic number 7. So let's start our break.